we just absolutely desperately wanted a baby of our own. And obviously then we're both dealing with the fact that each other had children, but with other people.
Right.
You're listening to the Nacho Kids podcast, where we discuss all things step family related. Real stories, real people, real help. Your hosts are the creators of the Nacho Kids Method and the Nacho Kids Academy Step Family Coaching Team, Lori and David Sims.
Welcome to episode 229 of the Nacho Kids podcast. We do need to add a disclaimer to this episode. There is mention of miscarriage in this episode.
What's happening?
What's happening with you, David? You haven't been here the last two.
I've been here. I just ain't been here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, some of it's been, under the weather, and then busy, just all kind of stuff.
And then just annoying.
Oh, yeah. That's all the time.
I kid.
So we were at a yard sale this weekend, and we see a Halloween costume, and it's like an old payphone. And I was like, you should definitely get that, honey, because you always say I push in your buttons.
Yep. And then we talked about how kids nowadays wouldn't know what a payphone is.
No, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they've been to prison, they might know.
Yeah, it was cute. We also went to the Fall Festival in Waxhaw.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so this is the fun time of year where we go to the cornfield mazes and pumpkin patches, and we're taking the grandbabies to the pumpkin patch in a few weeks and the cornfield maze.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the first cornfield maze that we took Kay and Avery left her in there?
Yep.
She was pregnant.
Yep.
Like she was about to bust pregnant.
Yeah, and that's whenever she was with me at some point, and we were solving these clues. The next thing I know, she goes walking off with another couple, and I'm like, okay, if you think they're right, because, I had a different answer than they did. So I'm like, okay, if you think they're right, you go right ahead. And sure enough, they got lost, and I found my way out.
Mm-hmm. It was about a cucumber.
I don't remember.
I think that's what it was about, but that was fun.
I was like, red flag, she doesn't listen.
And then when we took the kids, I think it was before we even got married.
Oh, it was. Yeah. The infamous cornhole maze.
Y'all.
Cornfield maze, not cornhole maze.
Yeah. The kids were so excited. And within 20 minutes, you could see the disgust on their face.
Yeah, I don't know why they thought it was going to be a quick process, but this was like a very difficult maze. I mean, we were in there for 4 hours.
Yes. So we've got some pictures that are funny of us smiling and them looking pathetic like they hate life.
Well, what's funny is you had the pictures before we went into the maze, and everybody's like just all happy and smiling and everything. And then you got pictures of us walking around in the maze. And it's like despair on their face.
Oh, it was hilarious. Good memories. All right. Well, our guest today has been blending for 9 years, has 2 bio kids, 3 step kids, and 1 hours kid. And her parents are also divorced. She talks about how a friend of hers put her on a dating app.
And you know how that is, don't you?
After a couple of days, she was ready to get off that app. Like most people that we talk to, she talks about how things were good in the beginning. Yeah.
Well, I hadn't ever heard anybody say, you know what, it was awful in the beginning, but now it's great.
No, we have.
Oh, have we?
I've had a guess that was the opposite.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Of course you did. Her daughter and her husband clashed.
Mm.
Now, that's interesting because we usually hear of the clashing with the stepmom.
That's true.
Yes. Her daughter decided to go live with her dad.
That's never good.
So, we are going to let you listen to this stepmom's journey.
Well, before we get to that, I got something I want to say. And I was going to save it for the end, but I know some people cut it off early. But last week I posted it on the Facebook page, which I rarely do.
Oh, gosh. What did you do?
Well, I posted about our anniversary.
Oh.
in our 14 years together. And I thought about it later on, we got a bunch of great feedback and messages wishing us happy anniversary, and I very much appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought about it later on, and I said, for those people that are reading that and thinking to themselves, well, good for you, must be nice, whatever.
That sounds like me.
Yeah, it does. But it's very important to not compare yourself to other people, including us, but compare yourself to where you were yesterday or last month or what. Compare yourself to yourself, not other people, because no matter what it might look like on the outside, most people are busted, disgusted, and can't be trusted anyway.
You like saying that?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's relationships have challenges. It's all in how you handle those challenges that really matter. Nobody's walking around, as Lori likes to say, with rainbows and unicorns, and we're no exception. We have our fair share of challenges.
Dave made me mad the other day.
That's every other day.
Yep.
Just don't look at other people and compare. When you're in Facebook groups or any other groups, don't run into that trap of, well, look at these people and they're doing so much better and we should be doing exactly how they're doing. And therefore, because we're not, then we're doomed and we're never going to make it. Don't do that. But we did have a few people that said, thanks for being raw and honest about your trials and your challenges and your relationships. And I know they're talking mostly about the beginning, about how we got to where we are. But I think we do a good job of being real all the time.
I don't know how not to be real.
Right. Well, or being transparent, maybe. Not real's not the right word. Being transparent. Like we talk about our challenges quite frequently. And we talk about how when the kids move out at 18, the challenges don't go away. We talk about when the kids come back with grandkids, the challenges don't go away. We talk about all that and we bring it up and discuss it. So, all right. So I said what I had to say. But I just thought about that the other day, and I was like, you know what? I need to bring that up because I don't want somebody to look at us and compare themselves and say that they should be, even if they've been married for 14 years as well. And they're like just about to fall apart. And they're looking at us going, look, they're married the exact same amount of time we are. And look how great they are. And look how terrible we are. Don't compare. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
'Cause I tell you what, if we would have compared ourselves 2, 3, 4 years in, it wouldn't have worked out.
Yeah. And comparison is the thief of joy.
I like that. You should get a t-shirt that says that.
I've said it before. I think you liked it then too.
Well, I'm liking it again, so I'm consistent.
All right. Let's get to listening.
Let's do it.
Today we have stepmom Kim. Hey, Kim, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. So tell us a little bit about your blend, how long you've been blending, how many step kids, bio kids, hours kids, all that wonderful stuff.
So we've been together for nearly 9 years.
Okay.
And so there's my son, he's 20, coming on 21. My daughter is 19, she's going to be 20 soon. Then my oldest stepson is 17, coming on 18. And then I've got a 16-year-old stepson who'll be 17 soon. And then I've got a stepdaughter who's 10, and we've got an ours who's a little boy who's just turned 5.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, that's a big age gap between your oldest and your youngest.
Yeah, there's 14 months between my son and my daughter, and then there's 14 years between my daughter and my youngest.
Wow, that's crazy.
So that was a big sort of going back to sleepless nights and nappies and all the rest of it.
Yes. And then you realize how much energy you do not have.
I was 20 when I had my oldest, and I was 36 when I had my little boy.
Yeah.
It was a lot harder. Pregnancy was harder. Just the whole parenting was easier in a lot of ways. Older and more confident, knew what felt like I knew I was doing more. But the physical side of it, yeah. I definitely had a lot more energy for my younger two.
Oh, definitely. I kept one of the grandkids for 4 days the other week, and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is so exhausting. And she's a good baby. So
It's a lot, isn't it?
it is. It is. It seems like after you finish feeding them and let them take a little nap, which she would take like 27-minute naps, which cracked me up. Because I was thinking that she would take like 2 and 3 hour naps like my son did. Oh, no. Mm-mm.
They're all so different. And
Yeah.
you have one and you think, oh, I know what I'm doing now.
Right.
And then my daughter, honestly, even at 2 hours old when I first met her, she was so different to my son at 2 hours old. I couldn't believe it. You think a newborn's a newborn, they're really not.
No, they are way different. They all come out with their little personalities.
They really do.
So you and your ex had these kids and y'all split
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. So I got married when I was 18.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I was very young. We were together for 14 years. In hindsight, I think we both agree we should have split up a lot sooner than we did, but we were absolutely just trying to do the best thing for our children.
Right.
Both love them spits, my parents were divorced, and I never wanted that for my children. I never wanted the two homes and the step parents and everything that goes with it. And we really tried, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
I think, we were really young when we got together and we went through a lot, and so we split up, and obviously they're never fun, are they, breakups? And
No,
I was
never.
absolutely not looking to settle down, at least not for a long time. And one night after a few drinks, a friend of mine decided to put me on a dating app that she was on, because I'm there just feeling a bit miserable, and then you get inundated with loads of messages, and it's a bit of an ego boost to start with. You're like, oh, this is great. And then you realise that most of them are just ridiculous messages and pictures that you didn't want to see.
Yeah.
And then I'd pretty much given up after a couple of days. I was like, this is actually awful. And then I got a really funny message off somebody, and we started talking, and we were talking for probably a month or so. And it was we just got on so well. And then I told him everything that was going on. I said, I'm not going through a great stage in my life at the minute. I'm not looking for anything serious. And he was like, I'm not going through something, a great time either. And so we're just talking for ages. And then let's meet up. And I was like, I don't want to go on like a sort of serious date, like a meal, or I don't know. I just find they're really it's a lot. You're sort of putting on a bit of a front, aren't you? Because you're sat there almost on your best behaviour, and it's all very formal. And so he's like, should we go bowling? And it was a bank holiday. And I was like, yeah, that's great. And then so we went bowling, and then we went out for lunch, and then we went shopping, and then we went to walk my dog, and the date ended up lasting 2 days. And it was just so easy, just really relaxed with each other. And just going, oh, and we both said at the beginning, this is not looking for anything serious. I was like, I never want to get married again, never want any more children. And he's like, absolutely. Obviously, didn't quite work out like that.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, it was just so easy.
Yeah.
And just seemed so right. And then a few months later, we decided we'd introduce our children to each other. So I'd met his two sons the night before. So he's got two exes. He's got his two sons with one woman, and then his daughter with someone else.
Okay.
And their mum was working nights. So he was looking after them that night. And he was like, come over. And I probably met them for 20 minutes before they went to bed. And we decided to meet up at a big soft play, thinking at least then the kids can kind of come and go a bit. It's not just sort of sitting around awkwardly.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, I have no idea how my kids will be, how his will be, are they going to hate each other? Is it going to be awful?
Yeah. And actually, how old were your kids at the time?
So my son was 11, my daughter was 10, which would have made his boys sort of 7 and 8, and his daughter was only 18 months old.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
So she was a baby. So, I mean, that was quite easy. They don't remember anything at that age. They've got no idea almost what's going on, do they?
Right.
It's just another adult there. And actually, the 4 older kids, they got on brilliantly. They were playing together. It's all lovely. I think we went to a park afterwards. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
And to be fair, for a couple of years, those first sort of probably 2 years, they got on brilliantly. And in fact, And everything was great. And we're going, this is lovely. This is amazing. We're obviously really good at this, aren't we? You know,
Yeah.
our kids are getting on great. Everyone loves each other. And then a few years in, it started to get more difficult. There was my daughter and my husband, they're quite alike in a lot of ways. And they clash. And they clashed for a long time. And looking back, it's really easy to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
We're both going, this is great. We really like each other. We really like the kids. We're going to have this wonderful family. And obviously, it's not the same as having a nuclear family. You can't just step into these roles and everything's great.
Right.
You start getting resentful. And like looking back, you can see things like that the children being raised differently. Not that one set have been raised right and the other wrong, but they'd had different experiences. They had different parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see looking back, there was times I was like, well, my children react like this. Why don't yours?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the answer is because they've had different life experiences but that's when things start getting, well, you know, your child's been rude to me. And then he's like, well, your children have been rude to me. And you start criticizing each other's children. And that's obviously when things get really, because you jump to the defensive, like, how dare you? My child would never do that.
Right. And you play tit for tat.
Yeah. And you've got voices in the back of your head going, oh, this probably did actually. You know, I love my children to bits, but I'm also fully aware of what they can be like. But yeah, you get very defensive, don't you? But I think also you almost expect more for the people's children, or maybe not, you don't expect more, but you let more go with your own kids.
Yes. And I think both of those statements are true, because like with David's kids, when they were teenagers, I expected them to do certain things like fix their own breakfast, get their clothes, things like that. But when my son reached their age, I was, oh, Jackson, what do you want for breakfast? So it's like different expectations.
Yes. And you're thinking, well, my children do this.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't your children do this?
Right.
And you end up in these, and he ended up with both of my children and me with his oldest two. Almost, you end up getting stuck in a bit of a rut, don't you? Where you're just so overwhelmed with it, and you then get annoyed, and then you're almost stuck in that, each of you waiting for the other to do something,
Yes.
and everyone. And then just after we got married in September 17, and then a couple of weeks later, his sons moved in with us, which was very unexpected. Their mum wasn't well, but they didn't live locally, so they had to change schools. They had to, so all of a sudden they're living in our house 90% of the time. They're seeing their mum every other weekend. My children are doing 50-50 with their dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously this is a huge upheaval for everybody. We gave up our bedroom, we moved into the sitting room. And then obviously my kids start feeling a bit like, well, this is our home. This is always, this has been our home for years now. And now they're coming in, they're here more than us. They're with our mum more than us.
Yes.
And then obviously for his sons, this is they've lived with their mums, seeing their dad sort of every other weekend and school holidays since they were very young.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a massive upheaval for everyone. And we'd been having fertility treatment, and we'd decided at this point, this is not the time to have a baby.
Yeah.
You know where this is going, don't you?
Uh-huh.
And I remember, obviously, we were all just running around like headless chickens, and sat at work, and I'm falling asleep at my desk. And I went out for lunch with a girl I was working with. We had a glass. We all thought, oh, sorry, it's Friday, we'll order a glass of wine. I don't work there anymore, so I can't get sacked for admitting this. I had one sip of wine and thought I was going to throw up everywhere. You start thinking, I know this. Obviously, it turns out I'm pregnant. A month later, I get made redundant. So, this is just coming up to Christmas.
A month later, you what?
I got made redundant, so I lost my job.
Okay.
So, we're in a 3-bedroom house with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us at this point.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm feeling awful. I had a high risk pregnancy. I was on bed rest for probably 2/3 of it. We're all incredibly stressed. We're worried about money with me not working.
Yeah.
The kids are all trying to adapt. I actually don't know how we got through. I look back at it and think, oh my goodness, we don't even have a proper bedroom. just everything. It just feels like everything's coming at once.
Right.
And this is when things really started to get difficult for everybody. And everyone was falling out with each other. The kids are falling out with each other. They're falling out with us. We're falling out with each other because we're stressed. And don't talk to my child like this. Don't you talk to mine like this.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was just, and then after Christmas, it was kind of like, we need to start making plans. I think this pregnancy is actually happening. And
you think?
it starts to get real. I'd had a lot of miscarriages. So we'd sort of got 15, 16 weeks. So you start thinking, actually, this is real now.
Yeah, you were trying not to get your hopes up.
Yeah. So we put a dividing wall in the sitting room, moved my daughter into there. My son went into my daughter's room. The two boys went into my son's room. We took over the master bedroom again. So, that was fun, trying to decorate. I think I was like 20 weeks pregnant, trying to decorate bedrooms and just the physically moving. And it's a joke now, the amount of times we've swapped bedrooms in this house. It's the house has changed, the situations have changed, living arrangements have changed.
Yeah.
So, this is just a really full-on time for everybody. And then I said my daughter and my husband really clashed a lot at this time, and she decided she was going to go and live with her dad, which that was heartbreaking, but it was the right thing for her, and I never tried to stop her.
Did you question whether you should leave your husband? Because,
yes.
Okay, yeah.
And so, I felt like I was pulled in so many different directions, and it was just so overwhelming. And then you think, we're bringing another child into this, just as everything. It seemed, we joked about it. Everything was great till we got married.
That's what happens.
It was literally, because just coming up to the wedding, my ex-husband, his rota had changed. I think, I can't remember if he changed jobs or something, because we did roughly 50-50 up to this point. But he worked shifts. So we used to plan sort of 3 months in advance. It'd be 2 days here, 4 days here. And then his situation was changing, and he could have the children for 7 days at a time. So we thought we'll do a Friday to Friday. It gives the kids a weekend to settle in at the new house, make sure they've got everything.
Right.
I mean, at this point, he didn't live that far, sort of 20-minute drive away. So, schools weren't a problem. We're going to have every other weekend to ourselves, because the children would be with us on the same weekends as his children with us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have a whole week to ourselves. We're going to have all this time, just us.
Right.
And then his two boys moved in. So I think we had a week of that. But we've just learned, never plan too far ahead, never assume, because the second we do, everything changes again.
Yep. Write your plans in pencil.
So she went off to live with her dad, and she came around every other weekend, and I still saw her a lot because the kids were all at the same school. But that was hard.
I can't imagine.
But
and you're pregnant, right?
Friends, and I'm pregnant, so I'm hugely emotional. If something happens on the TV, I'm bawling my eyes out. So it's great fun.
Yeah.
And then I have him in the summer, and that was very hit and miss. He wasn't moving. Even when the day I went in to have my C-section, I'm there going, he's still not moving. Can you please hook me up to one of these machines?
Oh, wow.
And I said, it was my worst pregnancy, and none of my pregnancies were good. And I had to be put under general anaesthetic for my C-section. And I just remember waking up to this screaming, like, newborns, they don't make cute little noises. Not this one. He was howling. And at the hospital, they kept just going, he's so loud.
He's going to have to be.
Yes. And he was absolutely fine. Perfect. Huge for like my other son was, and both 9-1, both born at the same time of day.
Oh, wow.
And it was lovely. So we went back up to the ward, and then my dad brought the 4 older kids in after school, and they each came in. They could only come in one at a time. And I kind of had to argue a little bit, because they only wanted to let my 2 in, because they were like, well, it's only the mother's children that can come in.
Right.
And we're like, no, you've got to let them in. They live with us. It's not fair if the 2 older 2 get to meet the new siblings. They all came in. I've got some lovely pictures actually of them, sort of collage I made of holding this tiny little baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I was worried, thinking, are they going to resent him? Are they going to be like, and all 5 of them are brilliant with him.
Oh, that's great.
Because
it could have went the other way.
Oh, it could. They spoil him to bits. And so it's lovely. So my daughter is officially living at her dad's, so she came around a lot. She was just besotted with a baby brother. And things got a lot better in that respect. And then obviously I was off work on maternity, and I've got, we're both exhausted. We've got this baby that just did not sleep. And then, so by the time he turned 1, things had got quite bad. And the boy's mum was actually local at this point, and she was a lot better. And they moved back in with her. The older one moved first, and then my other stepson, I think 2 months later, he started doing half and half with us and decided he wanted to live with his mum. But said didn't have to move schools. She was local. And it was probably around this time that I started to really look into Nachoing. I'd heard about it before on other sort of step parent groups and parenting groups, and I thought it was horrendous. The bits I'd heard about it, I thought it was just, you pretty much ignore your stepchildren, pretend they aren't there. And I was thinking, how does that work? But things were just getting so we think something's got to give. So I actually looked into it properly and started reading up about it. And you think, actually, this makes sense.
Yeah.
I was a stepchild myself, so I don't know why it took me so long for the penny to drop. That, first of all, it is so much easier to hate your step parent than your parents.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so easy to blame. Like, looking back, I remember, I don't know, being about 12 and saying to my dad, oh, can my friend come and stay the night? And him being like, no, because we've got people over tonight. Your stepmom's got a load of cooking to do. Now, what I heard was, if your stepmom wasn't here, of course, your friend could come over. But in hindsight, that's not actually, my dad would probably be like, oh my God, no, I don't want more kids in the house.
Right.
Or there was a time that my stepdad was working funny hours. And I can't remember if it was either, I think he had to go to, no, I think he was working sort of until sort of 3 a.m. So, and in the morning, my mum being like, turn your music off, your stepdad's trying to sleep. Now, what I heard was, well, if your stepdad wasn't here, you could have your music on. Now,
right.
As an adult looking back, there's no way my mum was letting us blare our music out anyway. But it's so easy to see it as oh, well, if they weren't here, it's them that's stopping me doing it.
Right. Yes.
When that's not actually, but as a child, it's so much easier well, they're the bad ones, aren't they?
Yeah, because before the step parent enters the picture, things are a lot different.
Well, I don't actually remember. I was very young. I'm the youngest. I don't remember my step parents not being there.
Oh, really?
They were just always there. I think I was about 2-ish when my parents split up.
Oh, wow.
And they were just there. So I have no memory of like my parents divorcing or being introduced, or I just grew up with 4 parents.
Right. But at the same time, when your dad would say, no, your friend can't spend the night because your stepmom's got a lot to do, then you still blamed her for the rules in the house or the responses to what you wanted to do.
When actually, in hindsight, my stepmom did a lot with me. She took me and my friends out, it was, I don't know, it's just in my child head, I was going, well, obviously it's her fault.
Yeah.
I mean, she was also stricter than my dad. My dad, bless him, he would have had us drinking Coke for breakfast. And I remember my mum saying she was really grateful that my stepmom was there going, no, we eat proper meals and we do these things. But obviously, as a child, you're going, well, you're the one stopping me having fun.
Yeah.
And, it's so easy to, and also when you want your parents together, I have no memory of them being together, but as a child, I wish they were.
Right.
Life would have been easier having one home, not this toing and froing and missing things because you're at the other parent's house or.
Right.
And looking back, it was nothing against my step parents. I didn't hate them. They weren't actually, when I thought I wish my parents were together, they weren't even in the thought process.
Right.
It wasn't like, I hate my stepmom, I hate my stepdad. It was just, life would be easier.
Yeah.
And it's really, a lot easier. One home, no leaving things, getting in trouble because I've left something, or no having to split Christmases and all these sorts of things. But this is why sometimes I do wonder why it took me so long to kind of remember all this and remember what it's like to be that child. And I sort of slowly started backing off and letting him parent. And, he's a good dad. That's one of the things that I really liked about him to start with, is how much he loved his kids and how much he wanted to do with them. And, we were taking the kids on these days out, and I loved that he wanted, to do these things. And again, asking him to step back and let me have the difficult conversations with my kids. When they haven't done what they've meant to have done, when they're not doing jobs, if their rooms are a mess, let me say it.
Right.
And it was a slow process, and we both messed up, and I still mess up now. That having to not care, care less about things and the bio parent, there are bits that I find difficult. And I do sometimes step in, but I've changed the way I do it. I won't go in there going, "You're doing this wrong," or "Your child's done this." It's more of a, how about, or do you not think maybe, so, and we're both a lot better at not blaming each other, or, if there's something that hasn't been done, not going, "Your child," but, "Oh, this needs doing." "Oh, they've not done it," or going, and it's just taken out this stress level. And then, so my two have both left home now. Their dad's moved away to live with his girlfriend, and they are renting his house.
Oh, okay.
With their uncle. So it's quite nice. They're doing their own thing, but they're still in a kind of safe environment. And, if their rent's late, they're not going to get booted out. So that's really nice. Then my daughter's actually going off to university in September. So that's quite good. And then last October, the younger of the two boys asked to come and live with us. And then in about February, his brother did as well. So they're now both living with us full time again.
Oh, wow.
So his daughter is still every other weekend. And then sort of holidays, we have her more. But she's not local. She's sort of an hour away. And it's so different this time. Like, I never thought they would want to come and live with us again after how they didn't end well last time.
Yeah.
And it's so different. I think because I'm not there, I don't get on at them. I mean, they're older, so obviously the whole relationship, the whole dynamic's different. They're not little kids. They don't need to be put to bed, and, they do their own thing a lot.
Right.
But it's a completely different dynamic. I don't nag at them. And I think because of this, I've got such a better relationship. I talk to them. But there'll be things like, "Oh, ask your dad." Or, if there's a difficult conversation to be had, if they've not done something they're meant to do, I don't do that. I stay out of it.
Yes.
I let their dad deal with that.
And that's the best thing you can do.
It is, and I cannot believe the difference it's made.
Yeah.
And there was a time I never thought my daughter and husband would get on, and they do now.
Is that because he stepped back too?
Yeah. He stopped being the one to say, "You haven't done this, you need to do this."
Yeah.
Said, I have those conversations, if something's happening. And we've actually, ironically, become we've all become closer, we've all get on better, and more of a team, as a family than we ever were when we were so desperately hard trying to form this family.
Right.
And actually, by trying so hard, we actually made it worse.
Yeah. Because you were trying to force that nuclear family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'd had that before, and that's what I wanted. I wanted my children to have this life that I always want. I always had this picture in my head of the life I wanted my children to have, and I was trying to recreate that. And it just went horribly wrong. And there was a lot of resentment and a lot of, "Don't talk to me like this. Who the hell do they think they are?" Blah, blah, blah. On every side, not even both sides. It felt like there was everybody against each other at one point.
Right. And then you feel like it's your fault.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things that learning the Nacho method, reading all about it, and this really made me realize that the children were never at fault. They were just being children. And sometimes they're a bit in pain, all of them. But they're kids, they're teenagers. It's what they do. It's normal. Everyone gets frustrated with their children. And actually, the people that were making it worse were the adults involved.
Mm-hmm.
And none of us are meaning to make it worse, but we absolutely were.
Right. But you were doing what you thought you should do to create a blended family. Yeah.
Everything was done with the best intentions. And, because we wanted this family, I meet this bloke, I really like him. So I'm thinking, well, obviously he's going to love my children because my children are wonderful.
Of course.
And he's lovely. So his children are obviously going to be lovely. And because I was already mothering my own children when his children came into the house, I just continued to mother them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's what you do.
Right. Well, and you do it because partly that mothering kicks in, that natural mothering instinct kicks in. And then you feel like that's what you're supposed to do.
Oh, absolutely. There's such a thing, isn't there, that you meet this person, you form relationships and you get married. These children are now your children. And, God, there's a million memes being shared over the internet of, you have to now, you become this person's parent and you don't. And do you know what? Most of the time they don't want you to.
Right. Yeah. Love them like your own. Yeah.
But I don't even love my three the same. I love them the same amount, but I love them differently. They're different people.
I am so glad you said that because I know, now I've only got Jackson, but I know growing up, my mom and dad had different relationships with all of us. They loved all of us, but I was a daddy's girl. And my older sister bonded more with my mom. And of course, my younger sister, being the baby, bonded more with my mom. But it wasn't because I didn't love my mom.
Yeah, you just have you have different personalities.
Right, and different relationships, yeah.
And actually, that's fine. And, I was never wanted to be their mum in a takeover way. And, I don't agree personally with this calling your step parents mum and dad. I think they're really special words and, special names. And I think there are some cases, obviously, if the parents are around, but as a whole, they have mums.
Right.
And I wouldn't ever want to take that away from them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a special thing. And I'd never want someone to take that away from me as a mother.
Right.
And my children have a dad. My older two, they have a dad. Just because we're not together, there's nothing on the divorce papers that said that he's no longer their dad because we got a divorce.
Right.
And, we haven't always got on. And there was times things were really bad between us. But one of the things that I always try to remember is at some point my children will be adults and I'm going to have conversations with them. And I want to know that I can say to them, I did the best I could to make sure that you had a good relationship with your dad. I never tried to take you away from him. I never tried to, stop you having a relationship with him, with his family, just because me and him aren't together, just because we fell out.
Right.
And I think that's really important. And, it's something I was really grateful for my parents for. There was no custody battle. There was no, I thought my four parents until I was about 16 were actually really good friends.
Really?
Turns out they weren't. They just put on a very good front. Ironically now, so unfortunately my stepmom died.
Oh.
But over the years, so my dad, my mum and my stepdad are now really good. They are friends. And we have fun every Christmas we spend together. And as a family, we have a party for anything. Anything that happens. It's a bank holiday, let's have a party. It's the king got coronated, let's have a party.
Yeah,
the Queen died, we'll have a party. It's Easter, it's Harrow Bouncy Castle, we'll have a party.
Yeah.
And it's always been at my dad's house. So he has just moved house today. So he no longer has a big house for us to all have these parties in. But for years now, my mum and stepdad are part of that as well.
That is amazing.
It is. And it's so nice.
Well,
not having to worry about who's coming, who to invite. And
right. Having to pick sides.
Yes, because you do as a child. I remember my first wedding, and it was the first big event that all my parents would be at.
Mm-hmm.
And it was stressful in the run up to it.
Yeah.
They didn't argue. There was no... But
it's just awkward.
It is. And the seating plan, top table. My stepmom wanted to be part of it. My stepdad didn't feel comfortable being part of it. So we had an odd number and, actually everything was fine. And it was more just because we'd never done it. How would it be?
Right. Yeah.
So, that was something I was always aware of, and I didn't want that to be an issue for my kids. And over the years, me and my ex have done, for school events we've done together. My daughter did performing arts for years. There's a lot of plays we sat next to each other for, and sometimes that was not fun. Times we've been arguing over things, and then we have to sit there with smiles on our faces, and it's not always who you want to be hanging out with, is it?
Never.
but we did it, and over the years things got a lot easier. And I mean, they're adults now. We haven't fallen out in years. There's been nothing to fall out over,
right?
Which is lovely.
We've talked to many step parents and step families, and there are a few that they can get along for the sake of the kids. And I remember years ago, golly, it's probably been 15, 20 years ago, this guy that I worked with, he would go to his ex-wife's house Christmas morning and be there for his kids. And I remember thinking, that is so weird. But like you said, it worked for them.
When me and my ex first split up, my children didn't have a clue that things were bad. We were very good so it was a huge shock for them. As I said, we'd really tried. I think if we hadn't have had children, we'd have split up years before, but we were really trying to do the right thing by these kids. And we then continued, he used to come for dinner, we'd do things, and in hindsight, it was the absolute worst thing we could do. And it actually confused them, because we tell them we're not together anymore. And then he's coming around for dinner, and we're doing school uniform shopping together. And
it does. I think it confuses them greatly.
And again, he was done for the right reasons, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, especially to start with. I mean, if in the future you can make it work and be friends and do great. But I think we tried to push it too hard, and it went horribly wrong.
Yeah.
But no, so it is a friend. Ironically said, yeah, my parents are actually really good friends now and do a lot together. And I can't remember the last time we had a Christmas that didn't involve my mum and my dad.
Yeah.
I mean, they always say it's funny how it works out, and I don't know. I can't see that ever happening with me and my ex-husband, but I suppose my parents never thought it would. But I never wanted it to be awkward for my kids to have us both there,
right? Because
there's going to be. And so my daughter finished school last summer, sat her A-levels. So to me, that was almost the end of these doing things together, school things. We thought, the next stuff that's going to come, there might be weddings, there might be christenings, there might be graduations. They will be almost our adult children inviting us.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So anyway, it got so much easier as they got older, because we didn't really have anything to argue about. So when we did see each other, there'd been no prior arguments. There'd been no sort of, it's my turn to do this, or why won't you have the kids this weekend, or I want them extra, or
yeah,
that had all sort of been long gone. And
well, you've still got to go through the weddings of your kids, the birth of grandkids. So there's still those things that will be a little awkward, I guess we'll say.
Yeah, but I mean, it's been coming up 10 years since we split.
Yeah.
And I suppose I don't see him as the same person. When I see him now, he's not the person I was married to for years. We've both changed so much. So he's their dad.
Yeah.
And that's how I see him now.
Yeah.
And because if I start sitting there going, that's the person who did this, he's the one that upset me, that you drive yourself mad.
Yes.
And it all happened such a long time ago. And we both did things we shouldn't have, look back and think, yeah, I didn't behave the best there. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Right.
And you were very young.
Yeah.
I think that people should have to be 30 before they get married.
I really think they should.
Well, I got married young, and you think at that time you love each other. That's all that matters. And there's so much more that matters. You've got to be on the same page moralistically. You've got to be on the same page with financial decisions or goals.
Yeah.
There's so much more than just, oh, I love them and they love me.
Yeah, and we did when we were madly in love and everything. Nobody had ever felt like this, and our relationship's different, and we're going to be fine. And we were just really young,
Mm-hmm.
and we thought we knew what we were doing, and we didn't have a clue. To be fair, I still don't have a clue what I'm doing most of the time. So, why I thought I did at 18.
Yeah.
And it's so easy, isn't it? You think everything's going to be great, and then real life kicks in, and it's hard. And we had these 2 children within 2 years of each other, and it was exhausting. And we grew apart. We realized that actually we wanted different things from life. We were different people. We both grew up and changed, and
Mm-hmm.
how we envisioned our family was different, and we just weren't compatible.
Right. Now, how was it with you getting involved with a man that had such a young child, and then you're having to go through IVF?
Hard. So it wasn't IVF we were having. I had recurrent miscarriages. So
Okay.
it was, but yeah, that was hard. I was having so many tests, different trials on these drugs, having different operations, having different things injected in places that needles shouldn't be. It was under a fertility clinic. So yeah, that was hard. And we're having, miscarriage after miscarriage, and it was getting harder to get pregnant. Obviously, I was getting older. So yeah, that was hard. And then he's got this gorgeous little baby with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And it was. And obviously the stress of that was hard on us as well.
Yeah.
And, we just absolutely desperately wanted a baby of our own. And obviously then we're both dealing with the fact that each other had children, but with other people.
Right. Now, you said that he had said he didn't want more kids.
I didn't want more kids either.
Yeah, you said that too. So what made you change your mind?
I don't know exactly. We just, as we got closer and as we got more serious about each other, and, for me as well, watching him, he's a great dad. Watching him parent these children, you start to think, I wish we had this.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of it, not the only reason, because it sounds really shallow, part of you think, I'd also really love to have a child that we get to raise, that we don't have to share.
Yeah.
That's ours. That's not going off, that we're not having to constantly compromise with.
Right.
Okay, well, you can have this, but we'll have this. There's always that, when you've got separated parents, obviously you both want birthdays, you both want Christmases, you both want to go on holidays. And I look back now and just trying to arrange things like Christmas and holidays, and with 3 other parents.
Yes.
Was just an absolute nightmare. I used to
Nightmare. Yeah.
print out. I used to have between sort of 4 and 6 months calendars printed out on the kitchen wall, different, where people were at different times. They were highlighted different colours depending which child was where. And then the secondary school they went to had week A and week B, and they had different lessons on those weeks. PE on different days, so they had to have that on it. And it was, the organisation that went into it was crazy. And I look back now and sometimes think, how am I struggled to organise one child getting them to school? I used to manage 4 of them.
Yeah.
It's on that hand, it's a lot easier these days. So the older 4, so obviously my 2 have left home. His oldest son is at college, the local college. His younger son has just done his GCSEs. So in England, they do it at 16, sort of major exams. And then after that, they can go off to college, or they can go and do an apprenticeship or do their A-levels. So he's just finished that. So he's out of the sort of mainstream school system. So actually, we've only, on a day-to-day basis, we've only got one at school. One that, obviously the older kids are doing a lot of stuff themselves. We're not having to go, if you're doing your homework, come on, go and have a shower. Come on, it's time to get into bed. Have you sorted your uniform out for tomorrow? All those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Now it's more like, I haven't had any dirty clothes for a while. Can you stick them out for wash if you want them washing? Or there's not many plates in the cupboard.
Yeah. Where's all my plates?
Yes. I think actually they eat knives and forks. We had an issue a few months ago. I think we were down to like 3 forks.
I know.
What have we done with them? And they swore blind they're not in their rooms. The rooms have been cleaned. All I can think of is I don't know if when scraping plates, they were just dropping cutlery in the bin at one point.
Yes, that's
But
what I found out was happening here.
We've got more cutlery. That's fine now. And, they're good kids.
Yeah.
And, all of them are amazing with their little brother. But it said his boys that are living with us now, they're always willing to help. Can you just watch him whilst we do this? Or the schools have been striking in England, which is pain. And there's been times, they've watched their little brother whilst we're both at work. We'll chuck them some money for it. Sometimes during school holidays, they'll have him each for a day. And they're both so good with him.
Yeah.
And he adores having them here. Absolutely adores them.
Oh, I'm sure.
And he's always trying to get into their room. Like one of them, he plays FIFA a lot, and on his PlayStation. What he used to do is give our little boy a dead controller.
Yes.
And tell him he's playing. Or one time I thought this was genius. He was looking after him and he put YouTube on of FIFA and gave him the controller. And he sat there for ages, happily playing.
Oh, gosh. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Oh, the old one, he's got the outside bedrooms. We've had our garage conversion and we had the main bedroom split into 2 bedrooms. So it's technically a 5-bedroom house now. And if he can go and sit in the outside room with his brother, he takes his little tablet in there and they sit and chill. But, they're always willing to help. If we need to pop out to the shops or if we've got to do something, he's like, yeah, sure, we'll watch him.
Yeah. I am so glad that they all get along.
I really didn't think they would. I tell you who I thought would be the worst was the girls. I thought the girls would find it harder.
Right.
And actually, they've been brilliant. So my stepdaughter, bless her, so her mum had a baby a couple of weeks after I did.
Mm-hmm.
So she went from being the baby in our house and an only child at her mum's to all of a sudden having 2 baby brothers.
Oh, wow.
And obviously that was hard for her, but she's been great.
Yeah.
So was she 5 when they were born? So she's 10 now.
Yeah, because I was thinking the same thing with her being the baby, that she would not show any interest and it would cause problems.
No, I mean, the only thing that she went through a stage of telling him what to do or you can't do this. And it was frustrating, but it was done from a place of love from her point.
Mm-hmm.
She was copying us. She was only younger self.
Right.
But yeah, I used to find that difficult at times. And there'd be lots of, my mum doesn't do that.
Yeah.
My mum does it this way.
Uh-huh.
And to be fair, I'm sure she went back and said exactly the same.
Oh, of course. Of course.
And again, this is a time where we're all desperately tired and stressed. And then it's just like having to realise actually most of it was done because she wanted to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to, and she's a lot better now. And doesn't, you're just teaching her, as he got older, not as a baby, but, just come and tell us. If he's touching, if he's doing something you don't want him to be doing, if he's doing something he shouldn't be doing,
mm-hmm.
if he's being a pain and winding you up, come and tell us.
Right. Let us deal with it. Don't parent him. Yeah.
Let us deal with us. Don't, and that's always something that I was very aware, having especially like the older 4. I never wanted them to feel like, oh, great, so there's another baby. Now we've got to help raise it. We've got to babysit all the time. We've got to, because you hear a lot of it and a lot of resentment. And I never wanted that. It's like, well, no, we've chosen to have a baby.
Right.
Not you. You shouldn't have to completely change your lives and now have to not be able to do things because you've got to look after your little brother.
Right.
Which, if we ask them to babysit more than just like a real quick, can you just watch him? We always pay them.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking time out of their lives to help us. If it's just like, oh, I need to go and fill the car up with petrol, can you just watch your brother, or can you just watch him whilst we pop to the shops? I kind of see that as just as part of being a family. You help out, but
right.
If it's for like a day, we're working. Can you watch him? Or we want to go out. Can you look after him till we're home? Kind of think we always pay them for that because we just think actually that's them going above what is needed. This is so we can go and do something.
Right.
But no, I think in a lot of ways, whilst it was really hard when he was a baby, having him really brought us all together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't have another one though.
No. We always joke that the dog brought us all together. And it did. It was something that we all loved.
Yeah, it's having that, and you can love without any negativity, without any feelings of guilt, without any, oh, is this right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know my children and his did the same, like on swap over days. Swap over days are horrible.
Oh, yes.
And I remember talking to my mum, and she used to be like, you lot were awful on a Sunday night. So we used to go to my dad's every weekend, so from Friday night and then come back Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
And she used to say she dreaded it. Sunday evening, she said, we're awful. Because we'd come back and, they'd had this lovely, peaceful day, just the two of them. And then they'd come back and we're tired and we're grouchy, and she's got to get us ready for school. And everyone starts back chatting. And it's hard.
Now, do you think your being a step kid helped you understand that transition days were hard for the kids and make it a little bit easier?
It did after a while. It seemed to, I don't know why, it seemed to take me a long time to almost connect the two, almost remembering how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was just so involved in everything. We went from, as I said, everything was lovely to start with. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
We had his children every other weekend. Some of the times mine were there, some of the times they weren't, depending how it was, what their dad's work was. And we were just doing fun things, and this was all lovely. And it went from this is lovely to, oh my God, everything's just on fire really
just
quickly.
Shoot me. Yeah.
Yes. And it just seemed to go from, there was fallouts, there was niggles, there was but it was just normal stuff. And it just went from lovely to what the hell happened?
Right.
How do we get out of this? And I wish I could go back and tell myself at the time, this is going to be all right. Like, this is temporary.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like this forever.
Right.
And I think that's true of any part of life, isn't it?
Yes.
The good bits, the bad bits.
It is.
It will change again.
It will. And the relationships, sometimes they ebb and flow. Sometimes you may have a great relationship with a step kid, and then all of a sudden, 10 years later, you don't. And it's not necessarily a bad relationship. It's just different.
Yes. But then that happens with your biological children.
Yes.
Like my relationship I have with my son and daughter now is nothing compared to it's completely different. 10 years ago, they were kids. They're both now young adults. My daughter, she's my best friend. She's one of my best friends now. We go shopping every Monday night together. We go and get our nails done together. I don't see my son as much, but he's doing his own thing, and I have to really try not to jump in and interfere.
Yeah.
I really want to. He's in a serious relationship now, and they're really happy, and they're actually off on their first holiday together at the minute. And I just desperately want to jump in and get involved, and I have to really stop myself because it's not what he wants right now.
Yes.
He's living his own life, and because when he moved in with his dad, he'd actually been living with us and not seeing his dad a load. And we had a big fallout. He was doing some stuff that wasn't okay. And what I actually said to him was, I think you need to go to your dad's for a week or so, because I think we all need some space here.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just horrendous. And I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
I didn't know how to get through to him. And actually he moved into his dad's house and went, I actually really like this. And I get it. We had a young child. Our dynamic was still much a family home.
Mm-hmm.
Whilst at his dad's, it was his dad, his uncle, and him. So there were pretty much three adults.
Right.
House almost, it was more of a house share dynamic. Obviously, it's still his dad and uncle, and he was like, I actually really enjoy this. And I get it.
Yeah.
He got to be an adult. He was at college. He's working part-time. So I did really miss him. I still miss him. I'd love if they all lived here. But also, they're young adults now. They're going off and having their own lives, and I need to let them do that.
Yeah. It is hard.
And especially when you can see them doing things and you're thinking, oh, this is going to end badly. Oh, I think that's a really bad idea.
Yes.
But I also remember what I was like. And the second I was told that was a bad idea, like, you don't understand. You know nothing about me.
You're old. You don't remember. Yeah.
Yes. So I really try and keep my mouth shut, and I try and be diplomatic. And have you thought about possibly doing this instead?
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's hard.
It is. Yeah. But it does. It changes. And It's funny how you see things that they're making decisions on, like you said, and it's like, oh man, that's not the best decision, but they have to learn on their own.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give someone that is entering into a relationship with someone that has kids?
Don't do it. No.
That's what everybody says.
No, interestingly, so my best friend, how long they've been together? Probably 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
She was telling me, I'm going on a date. And I was like, oh, tell me. She's telling me lots of things. She said, he's got 3 children with 2 different women. So same setup as my husband's.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, run, don't do it. Anyway, they've been together 2 years. He's lovely. And they're great together.
Yeah.
But we always joke about this whenever she's finding it stressful. I'm always like, I told you not to.
Yeah, I told you, girl. Listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. But here's the thing. If you do run across somebody that is getting ready to get into a blend, if you can convince them to not try to force that nuclear family.
Oh, absolutely.
To leave the parenting to the bio parent, treat the kids like you did when you were dating their parent, and don't change that, things will be so much easier.
I was talking to another friend recently. I've sent her the information. She messaged me the day ago. Thank you so much. I really think she's got a daughter and she's got another daughter with her new partner. Well, it's not that new. They've been together a long time, and there's, they've been having difficulties. And she was like, I think this is what we need. Just that letting the parent, letting them make those choices, letting them be the ones to have the horrible conversations.
Right. Yeah. And that's like, a lot of people think that not showing is just disengaging.
I thought that to start with.
And it's so much more, because you have to rebuild those relationships. And even if you choose not to rebuild those relationships, you have to work on the hurt that you've experienced, the resentment that you have. There's a lot of work into it. It's a lot of self-development.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. But you're reaping those rewards now.
Oh, definitely. And you know what? I absolutely adore my stepkids. They're turning into such awesome people, and it's so great to see, and it's genuinely enjoyable having them here.
Yes.
And I love my stepdaughter coming. And we planned things. We took her to a festival this weekend, and it's great because I've stopped doing the horrible bits and I get to do the fun bits now.
Right. And you quit micromanaging them to see when they would mess up so you could tell their dad.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, well, they've done this, and he was coming back from work. I've been at home with the baby all day, and especially school holidays and things. And man, they're going, this one's done this and this one's done this. And obviously the poor bloke's just had a full day at work. He's exhausted. He's coming back and he's not sleeping well either, because the baby wasn't sleeping. Yeah. And he's coming back to me going, oh, your kids have done this, your kids have done that. And then he's walking and going, oh, your kids haven't done this either. And it's just this constant, it becomes this tit for tat, and
it does.
And it's awful. And now we actually just get to enjoy the kids. So sometimes they're a bunch of idiots.
Yeah.
But I get to go, it's not my problem.
Yes. I never thought that I would miss my stepkids when they moved out. And I did tremendously. And so when they come visit, it's so nice. We have fun. We cut up. One of them, when I know he's coming, I get his favorite cereal, or he likes Jiffy cornbread. So I'll get Jiffy cornbread. And I just do those things because I know he likes them. And it's just a completely different dynamic. And it's a blessing. And when they leave, it almost hurts my heart now.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't want you to leave. Come back.
I love having my stepsons live here. And I never thought, that they'd want to live here again.
And you never thought that you would be happy that they're there.
No, not at all. And I think the big difference is this time it was their choice. They didn't have a choice last time. The situation was rubbish. And they were young, and they obviously didn't fully understand why it was all happening. But now they're here because they want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is really nice. And it's great seeing them do stuff. And, hearing about it, and I talked to them so much more than I ever did when they were living here.
Oh, yeah.
And they're telling me about their lives and what they want to do next, and it's so nice. And I really look forward to my stepdaughter coming, and I said it's just doing the fun bits, and then the other bits leaving it to him. And then because I'm not the one nagging him about it, we then talk, if there's something going on, we'll talk about it. And it's not me going, well, maybe you should have done this then.
Right.
Or anything like that. It's going, okay, so what do we do now? And the same when my kids are going through stuff, he's not going, told you this would happen. It's okay, so where do we go with this? What do we do next? How do we support them with this?
Yes.
And actually being a team, which when I first heard about Nacho, I thought it was being the absolute opposite. You just let them get on with it, do the rent, not my problem. And it's not, it's supporting your partner so they can parent, but you're still there backing them. And one of the things, because we both had children and we both knew what it was like to be the other parent, there was times that we've, not so much recently, but especially when we were all first blending, that he'd sort of say to me, I actually think you're being unreasonable here about things with my ex, when I'm going, oh, no, you're not. And again, there was times that I'd say to him, like, actually, no, I think you're in the wrong. Not in front of their ex-partner.
Yeah.
Obviously, you publicly, you'd back each other, but then kind of going, oh, maybe you're not doing the right thing here. Maybe you're being a bit unfair here.
Yeah.
And just that, supporting each other, but also sort of saying, yeah, I don't think that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, wait till they start having grandbabies.
It's like, I'm looking forward to that.
It's a blast. I love it.
We've still got a little one, but in the future, definitely.
I love it. Well, Kim, it has been great having you as a guest.
Oh, it's been great. Thank you.
Stay in touch with us. Let us know how things are going.
I will do.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Cheers.
As y'all heard, this stepmom, like many, thought Nacho was horrible.
Yep.
Until she researched it properly.
I know. And nowadays, you got no excuse because even ChatGPT knows how great it is.
That's right.
Speaking of.
All right. Go ahead. Speak of.
A lot of people don't know this, but there's a hidden feature on our website.
What? If it's hidden, how are they going to find it, David?
Because it's not hidden well, but it is hidden. But yeah, we've been developing our own chat bot based off of GPT-4, which answers a lot of questions about nachoing and Nacho Kids and all kind of stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And so where do they find it?
I can't tell you.
David.
So if you go to nachokids.com and you click on the FAQ page, that's where it's at.
Okay.
So you can go check it out, test it out.
So once they get to the FAQ page, it's just there.
Yep, it's just there. You'll see it.
Okay.
If you find anything weird or crazy, you can let us know. It is one of these things you have to continually train because we're training it with our own data set and our own information. So it's not pulling from the internet kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. But anyway, give it a try. Give it a test drive. For the most part, it's doing a really good job. We've had to train it and retrain it with some different questions and answers that it gave. But it's a continual process. So I'll say, just like anything when it comes to that kind of stuff, is if it gives you a crazy answer, it's probably a crazy answer.
Right.
Don't assume that it's 100% factual. If you really want to know, then Lori or myself, there again, is your absolute place of truth.
Right.
But we're doing our best to try to make other resources out there that can help you do the research or find the answers without much problem. And this is one of those things.
Awesome. Thank you, David, for doing that.
You're very welcome.
All right. I think that's all we got for now.
All right, cool. Let's wrap it up.
Okay.
All right, folks. We'll talk to you later. And remember, life is good.
When you nacho.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nacho Kids Podcast. Find us online at nachokids.com. Until next time, remember, life is good when you nacho.